On the numbers and more of this, let's dig into it with CTV's Kamil Karamali, who is live in our national newsroom. Kamil, this is interesting, too. We've been talking about this buy Canadian sentiment since the start of the trade war, but clearly things are expensive. Take us through what the numbers are telling us.
Well, let me ask you a question, and sorry to put you on the spot, Matt, but what are your priorities when you're buying gifts for those loved ones for this holiday season?
Yeah, I think it depends on who it's for, right? I think I have bought a couple of Canadian-made goods, especially for my wife. I hope she's not watching, but there's been a couple of requests, but there's also been a couple of Amazon also buys too, which I will fully admit to.
Yeah, and that's easy, right? That's the easy option, especially if you don't have to tell anybody, and some of those made in Canada little markers are tough to find. You don't know if things are made in Canada or not, sometimes if you go to Walmart or one of the big chain stores, and that's part of the difficulty is what some people are saying, although, as you mentioned off the top, cost seems to be the biggest barrier for Canadians who are looking to shop this holiday season and trying to invoke some of that patriotism that we've seen throughout the year with the tariffs and the trade war. So let's go over what this Nanos poll showed. It surveyed more than 1,000 people between November 29th and December 2nd, asking them what are some potential barriers, if any, holding you back from buying Canadian goods for the holiday season. You can see it here. 45% overall said cost was the biggest barrier. Many of those who said cost were below the age of 35. So it shows that youth are having a tough time dipping into their savings and finding that extra cash to buy Canadian. But a quarter said availability. You mentioned it for your experience, trying to find those gifts that you think people might like, but also find them in Canada. Maybe there's a better option or a better gift that is more available, readily available from south of the border that can be shipped up here and cost less as well. And then transparency, about a quarter, 32% of Canadians said that finding that label or finding exactly where a product was made was difficult for them, especially with some of those products that don't have made in Canada clearly marked as well. So those are some of the hurdles, Matt, that shoppers Nanos polled are saying.
Yeah, and it can be tough, especially online, right? When you don't actually necessarily know. You touched on it just a sec there too, Kamil. But you know, those under the age of 35, especially, we talk about the affordability crisis, right across the board, right? Whether it's food, whether it's rent or trying to buy a house or otherwise, but clearly facing challenges for the holiday season too. Just dig into that a little bit more too, because cost is clearly there, but for young people especially this this Christmas season.
For sure, and you saw 45% of those polled said cost was the biggest deterrent or issue in trying to buy Canadian for the holidays. Well, 60% or nearly 60% of youth between the ages of 18 and 34 said that cost was the biggest deterrent. So a much larger percentage within that age bracket or that demographic saying that cost, almost two-thirds saying cost was the biggest deterrent. And you touched on it. I mean, it has been a very difficult year for youth, especially with the trade war and as well as the tariffs. Employers have not been hiring as much, so it's been much more difficult for youth to get their foot into the job market, especially after they graduate. So we did stories on youth unemployment hitting record levels in Canada. Part of the reason why, some youth might be choosing to prioritize something cheaper when it comes to a gift rather than buying something Canadian.
Very true. Can still be a little bit tricky. CTV's Kamil Karamali live in our national news for us. Thank you, Kamil, for
Anytime,
that.
Matt.
Appreciate it.